Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
For too long, American Indian tribes have faced a competitive disadvantage when litigating against powerful forces. With its American Indian law and policy practice, Robbins Kaplan, LLP, seeks to redefine excellence for high-stakes litigation in Indian country. They have worked hand-in-hand with tribes to implement the Tribal Law and Order Act, fighting against diminishment of tribal lands and natural resources, and improving public safety on reservations. The Robbins Kaplan American Indian Law and Policy Practice serves tribes and individuals on commercial, government investigations, agency and tribal boundary disputes, as well as personal injury. Founded and led by former United States Attorneys Brendan Johnson and Tim Purdon, their American Indian Law and Policy Practice exists to bring justice to tribal clients whose claims in the past have been dismissed or ignored due to their underdog status. If you or your tribe are facing legal issues, contact robinskaplan.com or call toll-free at 1-800-553-9910.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Severe thunderstorms possible this evening, then freezing rain and snow possible overnight with a low of 23, then sunshine on Thursday with a high of 26. This holiday season, give your loved one a unique gift from one of our unique AM 950 advertisers. Find our list of advertisers at am950radio.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanjahade, which means distant thunder. My colonized and taxpayer name is Robert Pilot, and we discuss local, national, Indigenous news and Native news from all over Turtle Island. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Alliant Energy, powering beyond.
Awesome. Hey, we got a big storm coming up here, so without further ado, I'm going to be putting some sandbags out here in front of the house. Why don't we get going right away with Ogimaa with the news. Welcome, Ogimaa.
News and updates from all over Turtle Island. I'm a member of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota, and as always, I like to start with some news on what's happening with the Line 3 front here in Minnesota, as this call to action and information is very near and dear to us at Native Roots Radio. Yesterday was the national call of action to stop Line 3, and actions took place all over the country, everybody. There were actions in Washington, Chicago, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I believe Honor the Earth was down live at St. Paul. They were in front of the Army Corps of Engineers office until late, chanting and letting the Army Corps of Engineers know that a federal environmental impact statement had not been done on the Line 3 pipeline and that a regional environmental impact statement is needed for Enbridge's requested expansion to build another 200-mile pipeline through Indigenous territory in Texas. I just wanted to make sure that if you have not taken the time that you need to make sure that you're following this, go to stopline3.org, visit the Resist Line 3 Twitter page, check out McGeezy Will Fly, who was up at Duluth at the Army Corps of Engineers offices yesterday. Check out Giniw Collective, Honor the Earth. All of these places are doing amazing work to continue this fight to stop Line 3, and you can get updates there then too. So I wanted to make sure everybody is aware. Stopline3.org, Resist Line 3, Honor the Earth, Indigenous Environmental Network. There's so many different communities of people that are working on this issue, and this fight is definitely not over. So your reminder today that that is where we're at with that. There's another fight that I also want to mention too for our relatives in Canada. We're going way north and going way south today. The Wet'suwet'en land defenders also need you to take action. They have faced militarized raids for the third time in 3 years, fighting the Coastal GasLink pipeline. It's fracked gas pipeline, and they're experiencing those same kind of issues almost at a higher level in Canada than we are here in the United States. So find out how you can help by getting involved. You can go to yintaaccess.com. That's YINTAH access. And there's all kinds of wonderful information on the call to action, on what they need, on the history of what's happening up there. You know, I'm going to change the flow a little bit here today, and I want to talk a little bit about the weather. Giniw Collective founder Tara Hauska shared this today, and it's from Kaj O'Mara at KCRG. He's a meteorologist at KCRG Weather. And what it is an image of the weather pattern happening across the Midwest today. And he says, what if we raise the temperature to 70 degrees, warm the air to 40 degrees above normal, break the daily record high by 15 degrees, break the all-time December record high, raise the dew point to 60, increase the wind gusts to 60 miles an hour, sweep through a line of storms, and see what happens next in Iowa. We are about to find out that Wednesday is going to be a wild weather day. And basically what the image is the radar with a big white patch over the center, because I believe the radar just did not know what color to make those types of conditions. There's going to be some interesting weather coming through the Midwest into today and tomorrow. So make sure that you are Midwest prepared with, layers and not layers and salt, and, be prepared for anything, people. We might have some crazy weather that's going to happen because, as we all know, we're facing extreme changes to our weather and our climate due to climate change. And then on another note, my local paper, the Brainerd Dispatch, just posted the ice season on Minnesota lakes is actually 2 weeks shorter now than it was 50 years ago. And it's likely to not get any better. You can check out the average seasonal ice cover on lakes near you with the map from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. So the typical length of ice season in Minnesota has actually dropped by 10 to 14 days over the past 50 years. And that was as of data released December 10th by the Environmental Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. So we've got ice that is not sticking around in Minnesota. And then the Thwaites Glacier in the Antarctic is heading for some big changes as well. Floating section of the front of the Thwaites Glacier, and this is from bbc.com, that has been relatively stable, is now looking at shattering. Already it's dumping about 50 billion tons of ice into the ocean. And sometime in the next decade, there's going to be a dramatic change in the front of that glacier, which could cause, a bit of a doomsday scenario. There's sufficient ice held upstream in the glaciers drainage basin that could raise the height of the oceans by 65 centimeters should it all melt. So that is a big deal. If you're looking for a way to make sure that you are doing your best to protect our planet, hemp is a really good way to do that. Coming up here, March 2nd, March 1st and March 2nd, rather, is the 5th annual Indigenous Hemp Conference hosted in Callaway, Minnesota by Winona's Hemp and Heritage Farm. Again, that's Tuesday, March 1st, starting at 7 a.m. and running until Sunday, March 6th at 10 p.m. it looks like. You can find out more information by going to winonashemp.com to make sure that you are getting that information. In news from Wisconsin, Governor Tony Evers has worked together with several members of his cabinet and joined tribal chairs and presidents from several of Wisconsin's 11 federally recognized Native nations, and they were there to sign agreements relating to consultation between the state of Wisconsin and Native nations. The agreements, are to underscore the importance of a respectful and cooperative communication in government-to-government relations with Native nations. So, Governor Tony Evers of Wisconsin, this is a press release from December 9th, so apologies that I didn't catch this a little bit sooner, everybody. That there is agreements coming in with the state of Wisconsin, and it looks like it's excluding the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, but there is the 11 nations that are represented in Wisconsin, or members of some of them, working with the governor to get something on paper that says the tribes need to be recognized and consulted within the state. So that is exciting too. Also recently announced from Illuminative, the Native Organizers Alliance, and the Research for Indigenous Social Action and Equity have announced the launch of the 2nd annual Indigenous Future Survey. It is a multi-year Native-led research project which is designed to illuminate the authentic experiences, systematic challenges, and priority issues of Native people today. You can go online and take this survey at indigenousfutures.org. You are invited to take the survey before January 31st, 2022. This is your chance to make sure that your voice, your perspectives, and opinions on critical issues are present in conversations about the future of this country. And it is, again, it's Native-led, and the FAQ section can tell you more information about it. So I also encourage all of you to take the time to go do that. So, as always, it's been a pleasure to be here on Native Roots Radio, and I will hand it back off to you, Robert and Wendy.
Hey, Pinigigi, Ogimaa with the news. Up next, we have North Dakota Representative Ruth Buffalo. We're excited to have her and have her stop in and check in. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
For too long, American Indian tribes have faced a competitive disadvantage when litigating against powerful forces. With its American Indian law and policy practice, Robbins Kaplan, LLP, seeks to redefine excellence for high-stakes litigation in Indian country. They have worked hand in hand with tribes to implement the Tribal Law and Order Act, fighting against diminishment of tribal lands and natural resources, and improving public safety on reservations. The Robbins Kaplan American Indian Law and Policy Practice serves tribes and individuals on commercial, government investigations, agency and tribal boundary disputes, as well as personal injury. Founded and led by former United States Attorneys Brendan Johnson and Tim Purdon, their American Indian Law and Policy Practice exists to bring justice to tribal clients whose claims in the past have been dismissed or ignored due to their underdog status. If you or your tribe are facing legal issues, contact robinskaplan.com or call toll-free at 1-800-553-9910. Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Bijou, I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, it's always really, Peeny there, Wendy. It's always great to have North Dakota State Representative Ruth Buffalo on just to chat and check in and see how things are going. Peeny Ruth, for stopping in. I know you're a busy person, but I know our audience really appreciates your updates. So how are you and what's going on? What you doing?
Yes, thank you, Madzagadads. Always good to be in this virtual space with you. Currently dialing in from Bismarck. We have healthcare interim committee meetings tomorrow. The weather is very crazy right now, as is the entire region and Midwest. We have very high winds and blizzard warnings right now. So hoping to make it back to Fargo tomorrow after the meetings.
Yeah, safe travels. I know we're supposed to have tons of rain and a lot of wind tonight here in the Twin Cities. So prayers up and safe travels for sure. Ruth, so there's it's great that what you do, and it's great that we can support you and have you on and speak your truth. We're now going to be in Milwaukee here. We're in Chicago and Madison, and it's just great to have your voice all over Turtle Island. One thing I would like to ask you before I forget is just have you heard any update with Free Leonard Peltier? And I know that's the last thing that Wendy says at our show, at the end of our show. Every show is Free Leonard Peltier. What have you heard, and what is the update?
Yes, well, just some of the background of what we've been able to help with is we did 24 of us Native American state legislators signed on to a letter October 26th of 2021 to President Joseph R. Biden, and also the Director of Federal Bureau of Prisons, also the Attorney General, asking for clemency and that Leonard be released. And so some of the updates right now include Spirit Lake Nation has provided a tribal resolution in support of the petition for clemency for Leonard Peltier. Also had the opportunity to visit a little bit with the National Director, Carol Goki. She's the National Director of the International Leonard Peltier Defense Committee. And so she shared a pretty thorough update. Currently, as you might know, if you follow her on Twitter, Leonard has been on lockdown now for 3 days, which is very concerning. And it's been 9 months since he's had his second vaccination shot. He is under, a lot of emotional, mental, spiritual, physical duress, being in lockdown. And there is no definite time, no end date to the lockdown that he is currently in. The committee is supposed to have visitation on Christmas Day with him, but they anticipate this lockdown may continue past Christmas, and that this is typical for every holiday. For the commemoration day on June 26th and on his birthday, there's always been a lockdown for him. He is in very poor health and suffers from different health conditions. He's a diabetic, he's an elder, and so very concerned. He needs hip replacements and knee replacements. He's been in pain with his knees specifically for the past 50 years. Pain in his knees for the past 50 years. And so also have more to share, but I guess I'll just turn it over to you.
Well, one of the things too, Ruth, and I appreciate that update. One of the things, I was on eBay and I'm always looking for things, and one of the things I found was a group that's selling Leonard Peltier prints to support their way, and I just bought one of those, and I think we're working out a deal too to get those prints at our store, Native Roots Trading Post, to support people that are trying to get Leonard out. So there's certain groups, I don't know right off the top of my head, but I think there's places out there too to support the groups that are really working on this. And he's been in long time. He was set up. I mean, if you see a documentary like Robert Redford did in the 90s, Ogala, I can't remember the exact name, but those things show pretty well that he was set up, and that the other two people that were arrested at the same time were let go. And so it's just, I guess we could do a whole documentary ourselves about how he was set up. But they're talking about letting, I guess, David Chapman out, who shot President Reagan. So, I mean, really? Really? Is there a discrepancy here and with race and things like that?
Definitely. And so the national director of the International Leonard Peltier Defense Committee also wanted me to share that through all of this and all of the support that he has been feeling from everybody out here, he has been in much better spirits, trying to laugh and make jokes every chance he can. She's very grateful for the love and support that he has received from his Native brothers and sisters, but we need more. We need more support. We need all of First Nations to stand together and send out a support letter or resolution letter to the president. This can be done by sending it to the International Leonard Peltier Defense Committee or Kevin Sharp, who is Leonard's attorney.
Yeah, that's great, and I appreciate that. Wendy, go ahead.
Yeah, Ruth, I was just wondering, what's the reason for the lockdowns? Is it just for further punishment, or is safety issues, or do you have any idea?
That's a very good question. In fact, I also asked Carol the same question, why is he in lockdown? And nobody knows.
That's really too bad, because I'm sure that's very, very hard on him. If it's any type of solitary confinement or anything like that, where he can't, be with other people or hear from people, especially this time of year. So.
Exactly. That's something that she shared. The national director of the International Leonard Peltier Committee shared, is that lockdown is actually worse than solitary confinement because there's no definite end date. So he has no clue how long he's in lockdown. So today is day 3 of his lockdown.
It's really sad. Okay. Thank you for sharing that and letting us know. It's very disheartening.
And Ruth, I think what I will be more prepared next time, and maybe next show, but I know there's addresses to send Leonard, and maybe we'll bring that up tomorrow, Wendy, that there's addresses to send him a card, and I know he appreciates all that, and that we're all praying for him and putting our tobacco out for Leonard and his family. It's just a travesty here. I was explaining to a person, Ruth, today, at our store, a white ally, that when I was a junior in high school in 1978, we were first granted opportunities to pray and do our own religion, and they were shocked. And it's like, this is the continuous assault from 500 years on Native Americans, and it's still happening here. And Leonard is a great example, Ruth.
Definitely. I agree wholeheartedly. And so many of us have similar stories where we unfortunately can relate to having relatives in lockdown and solitary confinement who are innocent, and so heart definitely goes out to Leonard's loved ones, his communities, tribal nation, a fellow tribal member from North Dakota. So we definitely are trying to find ways, any avenue that we can, to help support his release.
We got a couple more minutes. Is there anything that else you want to touch on, or what you're working on and what's happening in North Dakota, other than the freakiest weather that I've ever experienced in my life?
Right. Definitely. working on getting reelected, also informing our constituents of the new district lines. It's very confusing, especially for my district, because there's a lot of changes there. So for example, precinct 3 is now precinct 1, and then it stretches further south. So we're working on candidate recruitment and also informing community members of the new district lines. And we have a healthcare committee meeting tomorrow. So just a lot of things, and also just thinking of our missing and murdered Indigenous relatives right now. You know, the weather is cold, and I would urge anyone who is out there and who is missing, or, you know, has left their family, or who might have run away, we urge you to just please get back to your family. They miss you, and they love you very much.
Wow, what a great way to end your segment. I just want to say we at Native Roots Radio always appreciate you stopping in and giving your time freely to us and speaking your truth all over Turtle Island. And again, Ruth, thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we'll talk to you really soon. And power to the people. And Rob, who's really good, the movie was Incident in Ogimaa in 1992. That was that Robert Redford documentary on how Leonard was framed. So again, Pinigigi for what you do for your constituents and our people all over Turtle Island.
No problem. Madzigidads, stay safe, stay warm, stay healthy.
Exactly. Pinigigi. Thank you so much, Ruth. Well, always great to have Ruth on, Wendy.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's really sad what's happening to Leonard Peltier, and hopefully the letters going to Joe Biden will help, and hopefully he'll be released.
Exactly. And Nancy, our friend Nancy, says, become a delegate, be a voice of your community, and pass resolutions to protect treaties, Mother Earth, and all Native issues that we think of dearly here on Native Roots Radio. So up next, we have Bob Blake from Red Lake with Solar Bear and the Solar Bear News. We'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
This is David from The David Pakman Show, where we expose the hatriots, liars, and Trumpists on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
In every deliberation, we must consider that the impact of the seventh generation, great law of the Iroquois Nation. When it comes to making important decisions, Indigenous people have always thought 7 generations ahead as a way to ensure our survival as people. Getting the COVID vaccine protects you and your family and future generations. Help protect the herd by getting vaccinated today. This message is brought to you by McGinsey Communications and Minnesota Department of Health.
Aho, relatives. My name is George McCauley, Ogimaa Nation. I'm a citizen of the Ogimaa Nation in Nebraska, but reside in the Twin Cities area. As we head into wintertime, many of us will be back together indoors. It's important to make sure you receive your COVID booster shot. Those 65 and over are recommended to receive their booster dose. Older Americans are more at risk for complications for COVID-19. So get your booster shot to make sure you stay safe and healthy this winter. All 3 COVID vaccine boosters have been approved. Find a vaccine site by calling 651-304-9986 or go to this website, vaccineconnector.mn.gov. 651-304-9986 or go to vaccineconnector.mn.gov.
Spruce up your home with non-toxic vegan candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents that make a perfect holiday gift. Plus, at Wisco Home Goods, we believe in giving back. With our Do Good, Smell Good campaign, a portion of the proceeds go to local charities. So support a Midwestern company that supports our local communities. Order now at wiscohomegoods.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Flulia. Severe thunderstorms possible this evening, then freezing rain and snow possible overnight with a low of 23, then sunshine on Thursday with a high of 26. Nightingale at 26th and Lyndale in Minneapolis is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood bar and restaurant. Now open daily from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with their full menu available until midnight. Check them out today at nightingalempls.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, it's Wednesday, and we had Ogimaa with the news, State Representative North Dakota Ruth Buffalo, and now it's the cherry on top of the sundae. It is Bob Blake from Red Lake with the Solar News. Solar Bear with the Solar News. Welcome, Robert.
Was that the truth with Ruth?
Close.
I remember when she had that. Remember there was like you were doing a segment like the truth with Ruth.
Yeah, we did a whole show with her for quite a long time during the pandemic.
Yeah. Wow, cool. Yeah, she's great, man. Hey, Robert, I wanted to share this one story, and I think it's pretty crucial to like what's going on right now. I mean, it was 60 degrees in the Twin Cities today on December 15th. Like, this is crazy that this is our reality, Robert.
Yep, exactly. It is crazy. Wendy's going to come back from New York and not believe it snowed as much as it did. Right, Wen?
Well, I'm glad to be back. I'll be glad to be back with no snow. But in Long Beach here, I've been in New York, in Long Beach. I'm about 27 miles east of New York City. And it's been 52, 58, 55 degrees. It's amazing. I mean, people are out and about. People are wearing shorts.
Yeah, Robert, this is, you know, I'm sorry, but this is not good.
Exactly.
So I bring this up because President Biden signs an executive order to make U.S. government carbon neutral by 2050. Now, I think that's wonderful, okay? But what I'm saying, though, Robert, we need to speed that up. I don't think we have the time to wait till 2050, to be quite honest with you.
No, this is ridiculous. It's December here in Minnesota, everybody, and it got up to 60 degrees today.
Yeah. We just got to move quicker. We got to move faster. And that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. Okay. So another story that just came out today from the Department of Energy is Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, wants to, or they're in talks of creating a massive electric vehicle infrastructure throughout the United States. That is great news.
That is. That'll help.
And I do want to say though that the intertribal electrical vehicle network was first though, Robert. Let's just remember that we were first to announce our network before everybody else started jumping on the bandwagon here.
And I can't wait to get a T-shirt on that network, that tribal network. You know how I am with T-shirts.
Absolutely, you got to get your T-shirts. Listen, Robert, a Stanford study demonstrates 100% renewable U.S. grid with no blackouts. So what the Stanford professors basically did here is they ran their simulations for the United States, and they figured out through their simulations that we could have a total grid supported by 100% renewable energy. Isn't that great news?
Oh, definitely. Let's get going with this opera money and all that.
I absolutely. Robert, this is another great story. The Saginaw Chippewa tribe is using renewable energy as a key economic development tool. Now, isn't this something, Robert? Tribal nations using renewable energy as now a key economic development tool. Here is my prediction, Robert, that renewable energy and utility scale projects like the one Saginaw Chippewa tribe is doing is going to be a better investment in the long run for tribal nations than casinos.
Yeah.
I'm making that prediction right now. I honestly believe that is the future.
So with casinos, or not with casinos, with tribes, would they be investing in big solar farms and selling a lot of it back? Is that how they would be making a leap in economics?
Absolutely. There are some tribes that are doing this, and there is distributions that they're giving out to their members now because the utility is so profitable. So this is happening. And here's the other thing, Robert. The technology is here for us to be able to generate and distribute this stuff now. So the technology's never been like this before. So that's why all this is like really, becoming more powerful and possible for tribes to go down this direction. And I really firmly believe that tribal nations have to lead in this direction if we're going to protect the environment, protect the land, and really push this country faster. Because I'm sorry, but 2050, we don't have time to wait for 2050. I'm sorry, we got to go a lot quicker, Robert.
That's absolutely right. And your organization is going to be dealing with a tribe in Wisconsin, I hear, and doing a presentation and getting the ball rolling for a tribe that's dear in my heart. So that'll be exciting. And I ran on this platform, so it'll be for the nation that I work with. So it'll be really exciting because the things that you're doing and the people are in the forefront of this to really get it going for Native communities. I gotta just tell you one quick thing, Bob and Wendy. When I was a teacher, I told my students, my Native students, is that this democracy is not going to last long. So you need to get ready, and getting ready is food sovereignty, our own businesses, and definitely solar and wind and things like that. And I just would joke with them and say, but you're not ready yet. We need to get ready. So with your guidance, you're going to be helping a lot of people get ready, Robert.
Well, Robert, just real quickly to what you just said there, you're talking to your students. 30 years of the GOP cutting education costs across this country. We're seeing the direct results of this by people not understanding science, like climate change, and getting vaccinations. You think if we didn't cut education the last 30 years and following Reaganomics, people would be getting their vaccinations, we would be preparing for climate change, and we wouldn't be seeing these horrific numbers on the TV every night.
Right. Well, too, Bob, it's funny, before trickle-down economics and Reagan in that era and destroying the unions and the middle class in a slow dripping of water, what has happened, we would probably be, if we didn't have that, we'd probably be going, hey, they had a New Deal, and after after World War II, or before World War II, I should say, to start changing the economic and putting people to work and starting for unions and getting the 40-hour week. We needed a revolution and need a revolution like that now. So it's more difficult because of the lack of education.
Absolutely, right? Dumb down the masses so you can go ahead and control them. That's what this has all been all about. And unfortunately, we're seeing the direct results of all that cost cutting in our education system of the last 30 years. So sad. Hey, Robert, I got a great story here, though. My last one. Cows are turning desert back into grassland by grazing like bison. Now,
wow.
What's happening here is they're letting the cows go out and graze, like, in these areas that are just like, don't have grass and everything, and they're bringing back the grass and everything. But here's a quote, though, I want to say, though. The famous Italian diver Enzo Maiocco said, "Until man learns to respect and communicate with the animal world, he will never be able to know his true role on this earth." And that is the truth.
Yes. And Wendy, we got a couple of minutes. Comment on that, please.
Yes, I know. I've read about Enzo. Him and his wife or girlfriend were swimming. They're from Italy, I believe. And a dolphin kept asking him for help. And he followed the dolphin, and the dolphin's mate was tied up in fishing line. And a dolphin can only stay underwater for a certain amount of time. But he was able to cut out the line and let the dolphin free. And the cows, I'm just guessing that the excrement from the cows are fertilizing the ground, and then the grass is growing. So that might be a really good thing. So those are really two good stories, right? That's fantastic.
I think that was the story, Robert. That's the true story of Enzo.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Those Italians know each other, Robert.
They do. Paisano.
Come here. I want to hit you. Hey, I saw a comedian, lady comedian, talk about. She said that how trees are growing, and she said it's squirrels that lose their nuts. And who would have thought of that? It's just like how are trees growing? But that's another show. But so we got a minute left here, Bob. What else do we got going here? I know
that's a picture of Enzo with his girlfriend. But go ahead.
Oh, wow. So just so one more story here, Robert. Detroit is setting themselves up for an EV electric truck war. The F-150 Ford Lightning and the Silverado is going to be going head to head with electric trucks now, and they say they're gonna have a truck war. So hey, any way to get us off fossil fuels, I'm with it.
That's my kind of war for sure, Bob. Hey, give a quick pitch out to what you're doing and your other organizations real quick here. We got a minute.
Yeah, real quickly, Solar Bear, you can follow on solarbear.earth and Native Sun, nativesun.org. And thank you, everyone. Miigwech for having the Solar Bear on with the solar news.
Exactly. What a great segment. Thank you so much, Bob Blake from Red Lake. I just have to say that one time at each show. Hey, up next, I was kidding you, Bob. Wendy's the cherry on top of the fudge, on top of the sundae. She's up next with sacred animal issues. We're going to talk sacred animal issues and maybe even some fun stuff. It's always a good a little surprise for me what Wendy has to talk about. We'll be right back after this short break. Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
Hey,
Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
We are Hosts Nation.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanjahare.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh, that was good, Wendy. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, what a great show.
Yeah.
It's flown by. State Representative of North Dakota, Ruth Buffalo, then Bob Blake, and of course, Ogimaa with the all-important news all over Turtle Island. So I'm just going to kick back here and listen to what you have to say. Wendy, go ahead and introduce yourself here. And before you do that, I told you yesterday, it was like I ran into somebody else, another Ho-Chunk person with the same name as Uncle Curtis's. It freaked me out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hi, everybody. My name is Hanajihi Hani, and that means cares for them. And I was given that name by my Dega Curtis, Maske Hanajinga, Mashke Hanajinga. I want to pronounce that the right way. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. And really what I'm talking about today is apropos after everything I've heard so far on this show. I mean, Ogimaa brought up Tarahauska, talking about the wild weather that you guys are having in Minnesota and how the ices in the Minnesota lakes are melting and decreasing 10 to 14 days less than they did 50 years ago, and that's pretty crazy. And that the Antarctica ice that is melting is going to increase the oceans by 65 centimeters, which is, by the way, over 2 feet. And then Bob Blake talking about, we can't wait till 2050. This is an emergency. If we wait till 2050, it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late for us and our planet and the animals that live on it. And it's funny because I'm going to be reading an article and referring to an article right now that scientists predict the year polar bears will disappear from this part of the world, and it's sooner than you think. This article is from a paper called Inverse, and it was written by Tara Yarlagada, and it's dated November 12th, 2021. The year 2100. So 2100 may seem distant and hazy, but scientists say It's easier than ever to picture the bleak future in store if we don't act to curb climate crisis. And that's when they're predicting that there will be no more polar bears on Earth in 2100. Now, that's 79 years from now. My niece, my great niece, was just born on November 8th, and I'm here in New York taking care of her. And I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, when Lily is 79 years old, there will be no more polar bears and there won't be any Arctic ice left. Human activity is accelerating extinctions. Climate change specifically endangers roughly 1 in 5 animals on the IUNC Red List of Threatened Species. The IUNC stands for the International Union for Conservation of Nature. So it's increasingly that the likelihood they will go extinct. And according to recent research, certain animals depend on ice, like the polar bear, and they're even more vulnerable than previously realized. The study links the animal's demise by 2100 in the Arctic regions to the complete melting of the summer ice under a scenario of high greenhouse gas emissions, making it near impossible for ice-dependent polar bears to survive by the end of the century. Quote, if the year-round ice goes away, entire ice-dependent ecosystems will collapse and something new will begin. Robert Newton, a co-author on the research and a senior research scientist at Columbia University, said in a statement. Now, if you put up that map I brought up here, here's a map of the Antarctic. I'll wait till Robert brings that up, and if everybody wants to take a look at that. In the red area is the projected last ice area, and this is from Robert Newton Lamont Dowry Earth Observatory. We're all familiar with the images of vast icebergs floating in the Arctic Sea, but this sea ice isn't just beautiful, it's essential for all life on Earth. Arctic sea ice reflects sunlight away from Earth's surface, keeping temperatures cool. But when it melts in the summer, Arctic oceans absorb the sunlight instead, causing oceans to warm and temperatures to rise. The sea ice is at its thinnest in September, but the ice begins thickening again as we enter into the winter months. In some parts of the Arctic, such as the last ice area, the vast area north of Canada and Greenland, sea ice has historically thrived year-round instead of melting during the summer, providing a vital habitat for ice-dependent animals like seals and polar bears. However, summertime ice is in decline. A report published by NASA in September found the 2021 summertime ice is the 12th lowest the satellite has recorded. A 2018 study suggests that if we emit an additional 800 gigatons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, it is likely that summer sea ice will eventually disappear from the Arctic during the months of August and September. Another 2018 study reports that in order to significantly reduce the likelihood of the Arctic Ocean being ice-free to less than 5%, we need to keep total future carbon dioxide emissions below 500 gigatons. Humans emitted 9.3 gigatons of carbon dioxide alone in 2020, though researchers suggest it was likely lower than normal due to the global pandemic restricting production and manufacturing. I just want to say here that, a lot of people are like, well, the polar bears will be fine. They could go on land. The problem is that polar bears eat seals. That's their main nourishment. And the seals provide what the polar bears need to thrive. And and the polar bears are able to hunt the seals on the ice, and that's how their world works. Now, if there isn't any ice and the polar bears need to go on land, which they have been found to do, and there's lots and lots more conflicts between humans and polar bears because the polar bears even now are starving. So they're going on land and they're rummaging through, garbage cans, and they're trying to find food elsewhere. But even if they do find land food, the polar bears are just not going to be able to survive because that type of food is not what their body needs for nourishment. So what we need to do, like Bob Blake said, like Ogimaa mentioned, Tara Houska was talking about this. We need to fix this now. We can't wait till 2050. By 2021, we're not going to have any ice, and the polar bears will be gone, and the oceans are going to heat up and rise. So we need to get this done now, ASAP.
Yeah, Wendy. They always say that at the end of the planet will still be here. It's us humans that won't. And you said earlier too, our relatives are with wings and tails and hooves won't be here either. And so, again, what a great show, and thank you so much for your segment, Wendy. It's always
my pleasure.
It's always very interesting, and people love your segment, and I get jealous because I don't have a segment, but I just want to end with these thoughts. If you're listening to this show, you're part of the resistance from Chief Plenty Coups. The ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3. Please get vaccinated. For too long, American Indian tribes have faced a competitive disadvantage when